We got all these humans on the planet, many of which don't remember that we're all one consciousness, we're all connected, many of which have been brainwashed into not even getting along with each other, and then you put in this alien threat, and we got a lot of, Hollywood beat programming where we're afraid of ETs, and we think it's all this hostile thing, and what happens is, if they were to land, imagine, there'd be so many people with guns and afraid and shooting at them. They know that. That's why they don't land. Welcome back to another episode on the Daily Vortex Podcast with Aaron Doughty. I've changed the name. Oh my goodness, the name has changed. It was the Aaron Doughty Podcast. It was the Expand Your Awareness 2.0 podcast. And for the final time, I've rebranded a lot of things, and this is now the Daily Vortex. The Daily Vortex is where you can go to raise your vibration. There's going to be content posted 2-3 times a week on this podcast channel, and it's around you literally going into your vortex, raising your vibration, understanding that you're a high vibrational being. And when you go through this vortex as well, you're able to change your identity, let go of the past. And that's a lot of what we talk about on this podcast. How to let go of the past, how to let go of attachment, how to let go of desire, and how to wire in the best version of you and realizing that that's who you are, and then also raising your vibration. So the more you listen to it, the more you raise your vibe. That's the idea, and that's why now it is called the Daily Vortex. I'll get used to saying it. It sounds kind of weird to say right now because it's new and fresh. You might, now because it's so new, kind of like, I like Expand Your Awareness better, the Aaron Doughty Podcast better, but the Daily Vortex is your daily go-to place for your daily dose of high vibes, to expand your consciousness and to transform your life. So anyways, I'm super excited for this episode. This is more of like a news style episode where I explain what's going on in the world. It is true. The Galactic Federation goes mainstream from a spacehead Israeli operative person that, has been around this for a long time, has kind of spilled the beans, even said that Trump as well knows about this. And I believe many other, even though Obama denies that he's known about this, I believe that Obama has known about ETs for actually even longer than when he was president personally. That's just the vibe I get, the feeling I get. But there's a lot of research that points to this. You just kind of have to go through and have your own discernment, because some of the stuff you will read on this probably isn't true. But in general, I believe that now is one of the most exciting times to be alive on the planet than ever before. And I'm super excited to be here with you. And this is exciting. So right now, what I wanted to do as well is let you know a couple announcements. One is I now have a phone number that you can text to get the high vibe thought of the day. And I don't post it every day, but a couple times a week. I'm getting ready actually right now after this podcast episode to go send out a message that is to everybody that's in my phone that wants the high vibe thought of the day. And sometimes I'll be posting quotes, top recommended reading materials, and stuff like that. And just like the epiphanies I'm going through and stuff. So if you want to be a part of that, you can text me at 424-304-0104 and just text me the word vibe, VIBE. And that's 424-304-0104. And you'll also get, just the books I'm reading, quotes, ideas of the day, synchronicity. I try to tap into the collective as well to give things that I think are powerful reflections. That's the first announcement. The second announcement, or the thing that I want to talk about, is something that I've been using for a while that I've been wanting to really try out before I really promote it. And that is something that I use for sleep. It is something called Chili Pad. Now, Chili Pad is something that I've been using for a couple months now. And it really does work. Now, at first I thought it sounded like it'd be an unpleasant thing. Basically, it's this pad that goes in between that of your back and the mattress, and it goes underneath the mat. It goes over the mattress, in between the mattress and the sheet. It's this pad that has these kind of coils in it that connect to this little unit that's to the side of your bed. And what this unit does is it keeps it cold or hot. And what it does is it's on all night while you're sleeping. And what it does is it keeps your body temperature a few degrees colder than that of your natural body temperature, and that helps you get deeper sleep. And now many of you know I track my sleep using something called the Whoop, and it does give me much deeper sleep. I get much more REM sleep and deep sleep. And I've been using it for months now, and I can absolutely 100% say that it has transformed my sleep. If I sleep without it, I don't get as much deep sleep. I know that because I travel sometimes and I don't have it, and I can definitely feel a difference in my sleep. And sleep is one of the most important things that people don't realize. It goes into recovery. It goes into your mental, your own energy. You'll have more energy if you sleep better, and also just your body recovery, stress, everything. But yeah, it's called the Chili Pad. And I put mine at about 55 degrees, and it cools my body down just a little bit, and you get used to sleeping with it. You fall asleep much faster, much better, and you stay in deep sleep longer because your body is at a few degrees colder than your natural body temperature. And think about it. When you got covers over you at nighttime, different areas of your body will have different temperatures. And what happens is that a lot of times can wake you up. If you wake up a lot, that could be one of the reasons you're waking up a lot. It's getting too hot. And that's why some people say they crank their AC all the way down to like 60 degrees, which sounds crazy, but it helps them sleep at night. Well, you don't have to do that. You can just get the Chili Pad, put it on like 50-something degrees, and as you're sleeping at night, you will notice you have better sleep. You will notice that you wake up feeling more refreshed. You have more energy during the day. So I'm a huge fan of Chili Pad. And right now, you can get a discount if you go to aarondoughty.com/chilipad. So it's AARONDOUGHTY.com/chili, CHILIPAD. And you could see, and you can get a percentage off of your Chili Pad. Check it out. Get Chili Pad. I'm a huge fan of it. I sleep with it every single night. I use it. If I don't use it, I could definitely feel it. It affects, my sleep and everything. And huge fan of it. And anyways, that's what I wanted to share with you in this episode, and that I've been using it for a couple months. Other than that, let's go on and get into the rest of the episode right meow. New York Times. It says an article that says aliens in hiding until mankind is ready, says ex-Israeli space head. This has made a form, you could say, of mainstream media. People like Joe Rogan were sharing this. So many people have been sharing this. And this, I think, is really the first steps towards a lot of this information coming out. And in this episode, what I want to do is I want to share with you some different perspectives that I have on this, on understanding what is called the Galactic Federation, as it was referred to in the article. It actually even says that Trump was on the verge of saying, actually, Bashar talked about this. There was a seminar that Bashar did. So Bashar, Daryl Anka, many of you guys know I've talked about some of his channel. It's kind of like an Abraham Hicks type thing. And I know it's a little more esoteric for some of you listening, but he's been around for 30 years doing this. And it's been very consistent with his information. But one thing people were asking about was this, because it's highly likely that over the next few years, more and more people are going to become aware that ETs exist, and there's going to be soft forms of disclosure happening. And one thing that was mentioned years ago in a session, the seminars that he does, is that it's very highly probable that someone like Trump, who would, in a way, knowing Trump's personality, he may want to be the person to actually kind of spill the beans in a way, to be the one that kind of say it. And I think that, many presidents, by the way, have known, many presidents for sure, I believe, maybe not all of them. No, I think maybe all of them have known that ETs do exist to a certain level, especially the last maybe 50, 60 years. And I think there was something to do with Eisenhower, or some of them FDR, I forget, but there's other things that have pointed to this conclusion. But just in general, what it says, Trump was on the verge of revealing aliens' existence, but the aliens in the Galactic Federation are saying, wait, let people calm down first. Asheed, who helped Israeli space security program from 1981 to 2010, reportedly said they don't want to start mass hysteria. They want to first make us sane and understanding. Well, let me also tell all of you, since I went through my awakening in 2012, I have been studying different aspects of this. I've known about. I don't share this on my channel a lot because I guess it's a little bit more out there, and I've kind of been gauging some of the content I share with when I think some people are more open to it. And I have made some videos on ETs before, but I kind of hold back sometimes. But I'll tell you what, this information coming out, and it's been coming out as well, that I feel more and more comfortable talking about it moving forward. And I think that it'll continue to come out. And I think certain presidents, like it says Obama, recently refused an interview on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert to confirm or deny the existence of extraterrestrial life based on the top secret U.S. records. I believe that Obama has known about it for a long time. I believe a lot of the presidents, and I'm not a conspiracy person that's like believes everything I read, by the way. Since I went through my awakening in 2012, I became aware of a lot of this. I'll share with you how and why. But also, there's a lot of things I read that I don't necessarily resonate with, but you have to find your own level of discernment. But this is coming out in the mainstream New York Times, literally New York Post. It's coming out, and this is how I think soft disclosure is going to happen. It's not necessarily going to happen with the White House making, unless somebody like Trump is like, I want to say it. Can you imagine Trump just there? He's like, I really want to say it. but there's different perspectives of this. So first off, let's go a little bit deeper into this. Now, first off, just so you know kind of where I'm coming from before I even get into it, because if you haven't listened to my videos before or know who I am, you might think, oh, this sounds like some like out there esoteric guy. I'm not that. I am into that kind of stuff, but I very much like the practical, like grounded, down to earth type mentalities as well. And what really opened my mind to this stuff is back in 2012, I went through a spiritual awakening. I learned meditation, completely transformed my life. And I also knew someone in my life that was, I guess what you call a Freemason, or someone that was in like the back, kind of like a, I don't know, secret society type thing. And what I learned from this person is very interesting. I learned and started looking into this whole conspiracy, secret side of the government, or whatever you want to call it, because I knew someone in my life that was a part of it. So it wasn't like I was just reading something online and I was like, oh, this looks very interesting. Let me go down this rabbit hole. I was getting information and learning about things that I kind of denied, but I was like, maybe there's something here. And it really started to link up with all the other things I was learning. And it had to do with also meeting somebody or knowing somebody for most of my life that worked at an underground facility for over 20 years. And towards the end of this person's life, they started to actually open up and share some of this information. Now, this person as well, to get in, had to go through, back in the 70s and the 80s, I think maybe the 80s, had to go through extensive process just to get in. And one of the reasons this person got in is because they are a very eccentric thinker. So they get into this certain sector of government, or whatever we want to call it, and it didn't stop there. The friends and family of this person all got interviewed as well. It was a very extensive process. This person gets in and is involved at working at some underground facility. This person flew 200 to 300 times a year to some undisclosed place that they don't even know where it is. They were in a plane that didn't even have windows. They then go to some underground thing, and what this person has told me is that there's underground facilities that are beyond anything we could imagine as far as size goes. And what this person was involved with was transporting material to these different places, almost like construction material to help build them. Now, what this person has also told me is that they've been around and seen some things that most of the general public would completely think are BS and would completely deny. This person has told me, this person hasn't said as much as I would like, because they also told me that their phone and everything was bugged, and I couldn't even, when I was around this person, say certain words. If I said the word underground when I was around this person, I would not be allowed to say it, because it would pick. I don't know if it picks up something and then something starts recording. I don't know. But this person did say as well, there are many, many, many different types of extraterrestrials that exist, and the government / private organizations or private companies, whatever we want to call this, they know about it. They have known about it for a very long time. And there's different operations going on that we're not even aware of. One of these could be the secret space program. And there's many whistleblowers from the secret space program, people that have come forward to reveal information. There's different factions, different people that have come forth from underground facilities that have been kind of explaining what they've experienced, including people like Emery Smith, Corey Good. These are all people that we consider whistleblowers. And a lot of their information, honestly, is very compelling because either they are as creative as a J.K. Rowling with their stories, and they are completely congruent with what they're saying through hundreds and hundreds of hours of explaining different stories of what they've been through, or they are just the best liars in the world. So it's kind of, maybe there's a middle ground there, but it's very, to me, you can just tell whether some of the information resonates or not. And one thing they pointed to, I remember Emery Smith was talking in an interview, or in a Cosmic Disclosure episode. What he was talking about was kind of the technology they have underground. It's very highly advanced. Like, we get this iPhone. I'm recording this on an iPhone right now, the video portion of it, and we think, oh, this is amazing technology. We just had the new iPhone come out. You seen the camera pixels on it? It's so much better. And every year, we buy the new one. I'm even tempted to buy the new one because I film a lot of my podcast episodes on my iPhone. And if it's better camera quality, why not? However, what I believe they have is they have technology far, far, far beyond freaking iPhone. You want to know why I think that? Back in 1990s, when Emery Smith was in it, whistleblower, he talked about just a day in the life of what they went through. He'd go to these underground facilities. You need extremely high security clearance to get in. One of the only reasons a lot of these whistleblowers are alive is because they have come forward, and if they were to get killed now, it would then look like, it's almost like a form of protection for them. Because then if they get killed, then it shows that, what he's saying is actually true. Whereas most of the time, I think they're trying to write them off as some crazy guy, right? But he worked at and was involved involved with biology and like dissecting the bodies of many different types of different extraterrestrials and understanding them. And he was he was involved with the genetic material and doing stuff with that. He was in the Army or the Navy, I forget. He was in one of the Army branches or something like that, and then he was like a medic in it, and then he got eventually moved in, and through many, many years, he moved through security clearance. And he said, like, even when you go to like lunch or to eat, you go into these big halls, you've got these like glass tables that are like iPhones. You could literally like do different things on these glass tables. If you need something, it's like super intuitive. So like different condiments, like you just click something and then it shows up with these different condiments. And then also there's this thing that you go over to order, and it's like this big glass wall, and any length of height you are, you just push it, and then it comes out with this menu, and there's different menus for different like ET races. And what you do is you click what you want to eat. There's a 3D printer that prints it in the back. He says it's some of the most delicious food you've ever eaten, and it's all 3D printed, and the nutrients and enzymes are put into the food so that when you eat the food, it actually digests well. So, and he says that it's like amazing tasting. It's made out of some type of raw materials, but it's like food that's healthy for you. And then you take it back to your table, and there's tables with different sizes for different type of beans and stuff like that. And then you eat, and there's different technology in these. I mean, that was in the 1990s. And think about today. We're like, oh, I got this iPhone. This is so cool. The pixels are so much better than last year. Oh my goodness, let's spend another $1,500 on it. So, anyways, just to explain, I've known someone in my life that kind of had a similar experience as that Emery Smith guy, and it was hard for me to deny it, especially because they were reluctant to share this information with me, and I kind of had to dig it out of them. But towards the end of this person's life, they shared a little bit more, and basically confirmed ETs do exist. The government's known about it for a long time, even behind the government. When we talk about these underground bases, there are hundreds of them all around the U.S. and all around the world. And when it comes to these ET bases, they may be protected by the army or whatever we call it. Bob Lazar and certain people were on Joe Rogan, and that really blew up a lot of these ideas. And when we look at them, they may be protected by the army, but I think it goes beyond the government. It's private corporations. It's private corporations, private interests. So it's not just the government. We always say, it's the government. And we talk about the Illuminati and the Freemasons. I think that is actually more like the cheerleader version of much deeper levels of control that go into it. There are people that don't necessarily want, call it there's dark agendas of certain elite people on the planet, and they keep this information. And one of the reasons they keep the information, from one perspective, maybe the population's not ready for it. But I think there's a lot of people that would maybe be pretty angry that this was kept from us for such a long period of time, especially once they learn that there's actually certain events that have been orchestrated in the past that have kept us in fear mentality. Ding, ding, ding. Kind of what's maybe happening right now, exaggerated at least. At least what I'm saying is at least some of the things happening in the world right now I think are exaggerated. Not that they don't exist, not that it's not real, but exaggerated to keep people in a certain level of fear, because when people are in fear, they're much harder to control. They're much easier to control. Now, let's go down some of this list now. So I was very skeptical in the beginning of this stuff, became more and more open to it. The more information I read, the more I could kind of discern. And knowing people in my life that were actually involved with this stuff really opened my eyes to it. So let's go ahead and get into some of this right now. Now, first off, one of the things that was said in the article was on people on Mars. It was about people on Mars. Now, this links up with some of the other stuff that I've read before. Now, there's a show I used to watch called Cosmic Disclosure. And the show, there were some whistleblowers that were talking about, kind of their experience in these different secret space programs or these different things. And one of the things that this guy named Corey Goodwood talked about is that he was involved with the secret space program, and he went to Mars. So it's almost like there's got to be a lot of backup just so you understand a lot of this, but a lot of this sounds probably more fiction than fact, but there's actually, from what this information shows, there's something called the LOC, the Lunar Operations Command on the moon, that has been there for quite a while. I think 30, 40, 50 years. And the Lunar Operations Command is where some different projects are going on, and there's different things that go on there. It's funny because we're on Earth, and we think this is who we are. Some people even believe there's no such thing as ETs, or ETs is some like fairy tale thing. There's actually many different organization operations going on with different secret space programs, with different things that the general public is not aware of. And some of these, there's almost like a war on consciousness that is happening, and most of the people just aren't even aware that it's even going on. We're just so focused on paying our taxes and doing all this stuff on land. But in actuality, there's like almost like there's like different organizations and different groups that are trying to retain power over Earth or power just in general. And it's an interesting thing. But what Corey Goode has talked about is something called the LOC, the Lunar Operations Command on Earth. He was actually there for a big period of time, doing different type of assignments and work. At a certain point, he went to Mars. So when this guy in the New York Post article says that there are people on Mars, from Cosmic Disclosure, that also links up because there's underground, from what I understand, there are underground, almost like an underground facility on Mars with people that live in it. Now, the story that Corey Goode talks about in Cosmic Disclosure is that one time he went to Mars and there was some type of operation they were doing, and there were people that were in this underground facility that he met. And one of the things was, though, is Mars, the people that were on Mars, a lot of them were, in a way, it wasn't a good energy that they were there. There's people that are in command that are just doing their thing. And from what I understand, there was a breakaway civilization. They call it the German breakaway civilization or something like that. But back in the back in the day with the whole Nazis and the negative stuff with that, there were a whole civilization that broke away. And They're very much about power, control, things like that. And on Mars, some of them may have gone to Mars, and there are actually people. Now, this is a longer story. Maybe this would take longer of an episode. But from what Corey Goode says is that these people on Mars, there were a lot of people that believed they had to be there. In a way, they were like enslaved because they thought that they had to be there. Now, what happened was when Corey Goode was there, he was talking to somebody else, and it was almost like they believed this. All these people on Mars believed that Earth was destroyed somehow. They believed that Earth was destroyed, and what they were told to get to Mars is, hey, the Earth is going to be destroyed. If you leave, we can save you and your family. We can go to Mars, and there's all this stuff going on. And there was a big group of people that left Earth to go to Mars back in the day, believing they were going to be saved, and now they're on Mars, and now they've been there for maybe a period of time, and there's people that are in control there that have kept them almost believing that. When Corey Goode was there, he was there on some type of mission thing, and he was talking to somebody else that he was working with, and somebody commented on his tan. And he said, oh, thanks, because he was also working, or, he was like in between the Lunar Operations Command and being on Earth or something like that. And he said that, oh, he was in Florida, or he was joking around about being in Florida or something like that. It was like a tan for being on vacation. And in that moment, when people overheard him say that, it caused a big ripple because the people in this breakaway civilization in underground Mars believed that Earth was destroyed. So then it had them start to probably plant the seed and question things. And probably what happened is afterwards, they said, hey, be quiet, that guy was crazy or something like that, or like joking around or something. Like they probably deflected it. But that there is a civilization that is broken away from Earth that lives on Mars, that is, in a way, there's like a power dynamic, a power struggle there, that people are in power, and I don't know exactly what they're doing. I have no idea, but I'm just sharing you the different things that information that I've digested over the years, and how it does link up to some of the stuff that I've heard about Mars, all right? And I believe that there is, in a way, a whole different arena of like, almost like as we're going through it on the mainland, we're going through this war on consciousness where we're waking up to more of who we are. There's a global shift in consciousness happening on the earth right now. I do believe that. It's also happening in the, like around the planet as well. I do believe there are many, many, many different types of extraterrestrial beings. I believe majority of them that we're in contact with are higher dimensional, meaning they're more advanced in a way. Now, when we say advanced, I mean also spiritually advanced. They realize that we are connected to them. We are all one consciousness, so they don't have negative intentions of harming us. With that being said, I do believe that there are some negative beings that try to have control over Earth, and that their intentions are negative. So there are both benevolent and malevolent beings, just like there are good people and bad people, right? It's the same type of thing. There's a lot of contrast in the universe. Now, let me fast forward, or let me move over to now what Bashar has said. What Bashar has said, many of you know that I'm a big, I like listening to Bashar. Bashar has explained it like this, that ETs are our family. We, as humans, are actually offshoots of many different extraterrestrial DNA. In a way, Earth itself is kind of like a petri dish that was put here, and there are different genetic, almost like genetic, what would you call it? Not experiments, but genetic programs that are going on. And us as humans are a mix of many different extraterrestrial DNAs. It could be different. I mean, there's many different forms. I don't even want to get it, but many different humanoid DNAs. And what's happened is there's that agenda that's going on. That's what I was looking for. Genetic agendas going on. And what Bashar says is, in this lifetime, it is considered and has the potential to be one of the most transformative lifetimes to ever be alive on planet Earth. This also links up to what Dolores Cannon says. Dolores Cannon has over 17 books that are transcripts of hypnosis sessions with people that were in what is called a deep level of hypnosis, QHHT, quantum healing hypnosis technique. And many, many people's subconscious mind comes through, and what they do is they explain why and what they believe will happen. What side? Okay, that's the camera. Sorry, I tried to find the camera on why they came here and what their purpose is on Earth. And a lot of their purpose, and what people talk about is their purpose is to come here to be a part of this great shift in consciousness. So many people are going to wake up in this lifetime. It's a super powerful time to be alive. Now, what Bashar has said is that what it would be like if ETs landed and gave us all this technology and all this amazing stuff that we want, what that would be like is it would be like, the way from their perspective, it would be like landing in an insane asylum where everyone has forgotten who they are, and it would be like landing inside an insane asylum, but everyone also has guns. Think about that. We got all these humans on the planet, many of which don't remember that we're all one consciousness, we're all connected, many of which have been brainwashed into not even getting along with each other, and then you put in this alien threat, and we got a lot of, Hollywood beat programming where we're afraid of ETs, and we think it's all this hostile thing, and what happens is, if they were to land, imagine, there'd be so many people with guns and afraid and shooting at them. They know that. That's why they don't land. So the real reason that I think ETs don't land is because it would literally be like landing in an insane asylum where people have guns. That's the analogy that Bashar gave. And until we wake up and remember who we are, they're not going to land. Also, at a spiritual level, what I think happened is many of us incarnated at this time to go through this big shift in consciousness, but we came to do it because the way the free will of our reality works is we forget who we are so we can then remember who we are. That's what makes Earth such a challenging place. There are many places in the universe that we can incarnate into, which you could say are higher vibrational in nature, where we retain our memory of who we are. Even as a young kid, we're brought up and our parents are like constantly reminding us who we are. So therefore, there's more of that remembrance. But here we forget and then we remember. And that's why a lot of you listening to this have been through a spiritual awakening, have been through a lot of pressure, most likely early on in life, that has woken you up to more of who you are. And that's part of the game of life. And as great as we'd all love to be saved for all this free technology to be given back to us that Tesla had already, figured out a long time ago, but you can't make a lot of money on free energy, so that's why it's not here. As great as it could be for them to give us that information, we are going to do this from the inside out. That's why we incarnated here. We came here to wake up from the inside out. And yes, there's still some negative agendas on the planet, but I believe honestly that we as the light have won. They're just putting out the last cards up their sleeve, and they're trying to do any desperate attempt they can to remain in power. No, people don't believe the media like they used to. People see through this stuff. Even now, as we go back into lock, oh my God, everyone, close everything, dial it, put your mask on in between bites. Like, as people are just kind of like starting to question it. They're like, are you sure this is necessary? More people have died from committing suicide in Japan because of the depression of being locked up than people have even died from the cases itself. People are starting to question some of these things. And the way that it's just so obvious. The people telling us these things, by the way, like the mayor of California that then was, or whoever that was in California, that was then at French Laundry eating food in an indoor environment, not wearing a mask. Do as I say, not as I do. You see, it's like people are starting to question things. So anyways, that's the way that Bashar has talked about it. Bashar says that that's the analogy. Now, this is also what Bashar has said. Let me share with you this other little cool thing. When it comes to higher vibrational ET races, if we all think we would love for ETs to come down and just chill with us and to meet them, however, ET higher dimensional beings are of a higher vibration than us. We're getting there, we're raising our vibration, but this is what he said would happen if most of us were to actually be face-to-face to an actual ET physically. Because in astral realms and in higher dimensions or higher levels of consciousness, I believe we are connected. Like consciously, like in dream time, I believe we connect to these higher states of consciousness. However, what he says is, if we were to have a being of a very high vibration walk up to us, because that being was of such a high vibration, because they have so much of an integrated sense of their own self within themselves, what would happen is as they walk up to us, it would then be bringing up all the stuff to the surface for us to deal with. All our shadow, all the unconscious part of ourselves we don't want to look at. And what would happen is we would then feel it, and we would then think it is them that is making us feel that way. And we would project our own fears onto them, and we'd be afraid of them. And it would bring all this shit up to the surface for us to deal with. That's what he said would happen. So even though we think we are ready, what happens is we must actually continue to do the work and continue to raise our vibration so that we can actually become ready. And the funny thing is what are we going through on the planet right now? A huge shift in consciousness. We are going through a huge shadow work level right now. So many people are waking up. And the collective consciousness, I've done more shadow work this year than my entire life, which means becoming aware of the unconscious part of myself, childhood wounds, stuff like that. And in the collective, that's exactly what's happening. People, there's a certain level of transparency as the light comes onto the planet. The vibration on the planet is actually raising, even though it doesn't look like it. It's just that once it's raising, it's bringing all the shit up to the surface that's been in the deep crevices so for us to become aware of, so that we can then clear it and then let it go. So that's something very interesting that I do believe is happening right now. So let's now the Law of One was some of the most profound channeled material of all time. The Law of One was written back in the 1980s, and it was a physicist that was a husband asking questions to his wife that was a channel for this type of energy. A lot of the things in these 5 books that are called the Law of One, books 1 through 5, is stuff that was very deep science, stuff that was eventually figured out to be true before it was actually figured out to be true in our science, mainstream media, and stuff like that. And a lot of what was talked about was what's called the harvest. The harvest was said to be happening right now on the planet from the 1987 of the harmonic convergence onwards. And basically what this is this is a time where we have the opportunity to up-level our level of consciousness. To really wake up, we are moving from what is called 3rd density level of consciousness into 4th density level of consciousness. This is where reality becomes much more flexible. This is where reality becomes much more like a dream. This is where our vibration continues to increase. This is where the old 3D structures, 3D of duality, good, bad, light, dark, is beginning to crumble away. But it's becoming brought to the surface for it to then crumble away. And in this lifetime, we have the opportunity for what is called the harvest. The harvest is directly related to what the Dolores Cannon material says about us incarnating here at this time to wake up to who we are, and then also from what Bashar says. There's an alignment with all these different sources, which is very empowering to see. However, it is important for us to do the inner work. And what it says in the Law of One, just a very general base, that we must be 51% or more service to others rather than 51% service to self. The 3rd density is mainly about survival, thinking about me. And even now, as the dark agenda and they're trying to retain their power, it's out of service to self. Service to others is where many of you watching this video are a part of. If 51%, I think, is a little bit of it's just kind of like a barometer, but I don't think there's any way like, you're 48%, you're not ascending. We, in this lifetime, have the ability to ascend into a higher level of consciousness, and it's necessary. If we don't do it, then literally the earth will destroy itself. But I believe we're on the positive timeline. Now, what Bashar has also said is that from 2027 to 2033 is the highest probability of us having face-to-face first contact, but it's not going to be in the way that we necessarily think at first. The way we think about it is, on the White House lawn, we are going to have this CNN and Fox News talking to each other and talking about this, and it's going to be the president meeting. No. First off, I think a lot of ET races look very similar to us. We wouldn't even know the difference from a lot of them. Okay, so it's not like they're all grays. From what I understand, from what Bashar talks about, the gray civilization is an offshoot future version of us that has actually destroyed itself due to our level of intellectualism and converging with technology. And because they destroyed themselves, they've actually come back in the timeline. That's why there's a lot of ET abductions. It's using the genetic material to keep their race going because they're a future version of us that destroyed themselves due to their own intellect. They lost their connection to the heart and to the planet. And what they did is they were just connected on intellectualism and technology. And they went on this tangent that then destroyed their species and their genetic potential. So now they're coming back, and it's like this timeline right now is a convergence of many of these different past, future civilizations. Also, I think there's a connection we have to Atlantis or Lemurian timelines, which was when we were actually in a higher level of consciousness, and we fell down due to our own levels of power and greed. Now we're going back up. Reality could literally become very magical. Now, what Bashar says is 2027, 2033 is where the beginnings of first contact will start to begin for a select number of people on the planet. Not select like you're the chosen ones, you're more special and significant than other people. Mainly people that are just ready for it. There's going to be still people, I think, at that time that aren't open to it or ready for it. They're not going to find themselves synchronistically having that kind of experiences. I believe people like you and I listening to this are going to be more open to it. And if it is your passion, there is going to be that potential in our lifetime. I do believe that. I believe there are many different agendas going on right now that we're not necessarily aware of, one of which is the hybridization agenda, where there are hybrid children. I know this sounds pretty out there, but Bashar's been talking about it for a long time. Hybrid children that have been, that are very, I think one of the purposes behind these hybrid children is that these hybrid children are like beautiful. My buddy Victor's had dreams with them before. Apparently Lior has hybrid children. We went to Bashar. She was asking questions and anyways, it could be a whole nother story. Let me know, like this video, or let me know, comment below if you want me to go and have like a follow-up video to this, because there's a lot of other stuff that I could talk about. But there's this hybridization agenda where there are these very evolved kids that have actually grown up off planet in like bases and stuff like that, like space bases, I don't know what you call it. And one of the reasons is they're learning what it's like to be human and stuff like that, because they're going to be one of the first ones to come down to have interaction with us, because it's going to drop our level of hostility and walls that we may have up to adult ETs if they're children. Even though they're highly evolved children, we have more of a soft spot for kids. And it's like they're going to help open us up more and more. And a lot of humans on the planet right now have connections to these hybrid children. And they don't even aware of it, because their genetic material may have been used to help make some of these hybrid children. And the way that I understand it is that there's a certain percentage of different people. So someone's genetic material 10% of it been used to be a part of some hybrid children. And these hybrid children are very evolved. They remember who they are. And in the future, they're planned to be coming down here to help us wake up to more of who we are and to have face-to-face contact and interaction with, because we have less of a wall up to them than we would to many other adults. This is something that there's different people. There's different, there's this information is out there, but I'm just kind of explaining many different facets of this right now. But 2027 to 2033 is when the beginnings of the contact starts in general. I don't know if the hybrid children will come out right away. But I do believe that if you're open to this information, if it's your passion, and if you've been doing the work, then we will have the potential to have this kind of interaction in our lifetime. I do believe that. Now, over the next couple years, though, I believe more and more information will trickle through our mainstream media. We'll become more and more aware of this type of information, and it'll continue to trickle through. Maybe Trump or someone says something and it becomes this but the mainstream media is owned. And because it's owned, it's not, is Fox News and CNN talking about the New York Times article? Probably not. But are they talking about how you should probably wear a mask in between eating bites of foods? Probably. You know what I mean? Like those are that's the difference of having a media company that is controlled and has an agenda versus something that's actually, talking about things that a lot of people I think would be very interested in. So with that being said, let me know what are your thoughts about what's going to happen moving forward. Like this video if you liked it. Subscribe if you haven't already. Let me know if you want me to do a follow-up video to this. If you're listening to this on the YouTube video, on the YouTube channel right now, this is also on the podcast channel for it's the Daily Vortex on I just recently changed the name. It's now called the Daily Vortex. The Daily Vortex Podcast, which is on iTunes and Spotify. And I'll be posting the videos here sometimes. If you're listening to it on the podcast, then there's also on the YouTube channel. I'll be posting the videos every now and then. Other than that, let me know what you guys thought of this video. If you guys want me to talk about more, let me know. And as always, peace, much love, and namaste.